In the days when prophets walked the land, there lived a man named Jonah. He was chosen by God to carry out an important mission, a mission that would test his faith, his courage, and his willingness to obey. Jonah's story is not just an ancient tale, but a powerful reminder that even when we run from our calling, God's mercy finds us and offers us a second chance. One day, God spoke clearly to Jonah. He said, "Go to the great city of Nineveh and cry out against it, for its wickedness has come up before me." Nineveh was a city known for its violence and sin, a place that seemed far from God's grace. Jonah, however, was hesitant. The thought of facing such a city filled him with fear, and perhaps a bit of disdain. Instead of following God's command, Jonah decided to run in the opposite direction. He fled to the port city of Joppa, purchased a ticket, and boarded a ship bound for Tarshish, a city as far from Nineveh as he could possibly go. As the ship sailed into open waters, Jonah might have felt relief, believing he had escaped God's command. But God's eyes were on him. Soon, dark clouds gathered, and a mighty wind began to howl. The sea churned violently, tossing the ship like a toy. The sailors on board, experienced and strong, were terrified. They threw cargo overboard to lighten the load, each man crying out to his own God, desperate for salvation. In the midst of the chaos, Jonah lay fast asleep below deck. The captain found him and shook him awake, urging him to pray to his God. The sailors decided to cast lots to find out who was responsible for the storm, and the lot fell on Jonah. When questioned, Jonah confessed, "I am a Hebrew, and I worship the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land." He told them he was running away from the Lord's command. Frightened, the sailors asked what they should do to calm the storm. Jonah answered, "Pick me up and throw me into the sea, and it will become calm. I know it is my fault that this great storm has come upon you." Reluctant to harm him, the sailors rowed hard to bring the ship to land, but the storm only grew fiercer. Realizing they had no other choice, they prayed for forgiveness and threw Jonah into the waves. Immediately, the sea grew calm, and the sailors were awestruck by the power of Jonah's God. But for Jonah, the story was far from over. As he sank beneath the surface, surrounded by the cold, dark waters, God had already prepared a plan. The Lord sent a great fish, a creature of the deep, swimming through the currents to swallow Jonah whole. Inside the belly of the fish, Jonah found himself in utter darkness. 3 days and 3 nights passed as he sat alone, surrounded by the sounds of the deep and the echo of his choices. In that strange living prison, Jonah did what he should have done from the start. He prayed. He cried out to God, admitting his faults and asking for mercy. He thanked God for sparing his life, even in such unlikely circumstances, and promised to fulfill his vows. God heard Jonah's prayer. In his great mercy, he commanded the fish to release Jonah, and it vomited him onto dry land. Weak, humbled, and grateful to be alive, Jonah listened once more as God repeated his command. "Go to Nineveh and proclaim the message I give you." This time Jonah obeyed. Jonah journeyed to the vast city of Nineveh, a place so large it took 3 days to walk across. He began to preach, calling out, "40 more days and Nineveh will be overthrown." The people of Nineveh listened. They believed Jonah's message and recognized it as a warning from God. From the greatest to the least, they put on sackcloth and fasted, showing their sorrow for their sins. Even the king humbled himself, ordering everyone to turn from evil and cry out to God for mercy. God saw the sincerity of their repentance. In his compassion, he chose not to bring destruction upon Nineveh. The city was spared, and the people were given a new beginning. Jonah, however, struggled to understand God's mercy. He had hoped to see justice served, but God gently taught him a lesson about compassion and forgiveness. Jonah's journey is a story of running, repentance, and redemption. It reveals the heart of a God who does not give up on us, even when we stray. When Jonah ran, God pursued him, not with anger, but with relentless love. When Jonah found himself at the end of his rope, swallowed by consequences, God provided a way out. When Jonah finally obeyed, God used him to change an entire city. This story reminds us that no matter how far we run or how many mistakes we make, God's mercy is greater. He is always ready to extend a second chance. When we humble ourselves, admit our wrongs, and turn back to Him, God welcomes us with open arms. He can use even our failures as part of His greater plan. Think about Jonah's journey for a moment. He was called to do something difficult, and he ran away. He faced a storm, was thrown into the sea, and spent 3 days in the belly of a great fish. Yet, through each step, God was working. Not just to bring Jonah back, but to show him and all of us the depth of His mercy. We all have moments when we run from what is right or hesitate to do what God asks of us. Sometimes we find ourselves in our own kind of storm, feeling lost or overwhelmed. But just as God reached out to Jonah, He reaches out to us, offering forgiveness, restoration, and a fresh start. Jonah's story is a beacon of hope. It teaches us that it's never too late to turn back, never too late to receive grace, and never too late to be used by God in extraordinary ways. So, the next time you feel like you've missed your chance, remember Jonah and the God of second chances. If this story has encouraged your heart, consider how you can extend that same mercy and compassion to others. Share the hope you have found, and remember, with God, every day is an opportunity for a new beginning.